The discussion right now is going to be limited to the amendment. The amendment is to reduce the time frame. Is there anyone who would like to approach the microphone to discuss the 30-year time frame? Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Ken Brown, and I'm with Choctaw Fire Department, the Rescue Squad, and I also work with the Buren County Fire Chiefs Association. I have a little handout here, if y'all would just pass these around. I think there's 10 copies. But part of what we're trying to do is help our fire departments. One of the things that I show you in here is if we buy a ladder truck. There's only 2 in the county for multi-story buildings. One of them's in Fairfield Bay, the other one's in Clinton, south of the river. Well, what if we have a fire in one of our multi-story buildings south of the river and the bridge is blocked? Okay, we go out and we buy one, and I just priced them $950,000 for a ladder truck. Then you're going to have to put about $100,000 worth of hoses, and nozzles, and etc. on that truck. So we get one. Now we're safe south of the river, but where are we going to put it? There's no fire department south of the river that's large enough to put a ladder truck in. So you're going to have to build a building. So we need the ability to reach out and finance these things over a period of time. And these banks are not going to let us go with a 10-year loan for that kind of money. So these are some things to think about. The other handout I gave you is just to let you know what it costs to outfit one firefighter with NFPA approved gear. I just checked with David's Fire Service and EVS, a little over $11,000. Most of our firefighters in this county, listen to me, most of them do not have complete NFPA coverage on their fire personal protective equipment. I know in Choctaw we've got a lot of them. They've got bunker gear, but it's 10 years old and it won't meet NFPA. If we sent somebody to the fire academy, they'd send them back until we got NFPA approved gear. That gear is expired, it's got a label in it and it's got a time frame on it. And it can come right out of the package and be brand new, but if it's over 10 years old, Fire Academy will send you back. And if somebody's hurt wearing that, do you think workman's comp's going to pay? I doubt it. So this is a reason why we need a longer period of time for this. Yes?
I understand that you do need a longer period of time to pay for this, but if we don't get it in a bite size where the county will go for it and you don't have no money at all.
That
And
may,
so
that
I think
may
a little
well
bit is
be.
better than having nothing when you're talking about this kind of.
That may well be. But again, we've been struggling for a long time.
I know you
trying
have,
to
absolutely.
But I think that if we go out and tell the public of this, I think that they'll be more acceptable to going for a longer period of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments strictly concerning the 30-year length? Cool.
I guess the only question I would have talking about the 30-year length is, I didn't hear anywhere about one and done for the library, which was my plan A, that we may be forced to seek a bond for 20 years. Do we still do the bond if we only pass a tax for a shorter period? Or can different phases be a 12-year, vote for 12 years, 20 years?
We need to stick with this amendment for this. Now, the other thing that you just asked was that was pretty much, it's not going to be addressed, correct? the bond restructure is off the table.
totally out.
It's off the table. So it's a part of this tax.
I'll just say about the 12 years, I'm a volunteer firefighter. I'm a volunteer firefighter with turnouts that are expired. That's just what we have, so that's what we use. Obviously, I'm a proponent of getting us what we need, but it was my hope that maybe monies could be partially used and some of them saved to go towards a truck later on when we revisit this again. I realize that's not helpful right now and today, but my fear is that if it's not a smaller amount of time, it will sink completely. So I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face, so.
Is this concerning the 30 years?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Please step up to the microphone.
There.
My name is Dave Deverling, and my only thoughts on this are the fact that rates are pretty good right now, and a 30-year rate, we would probably get a better interest rate. I doubt if we could ever hope to get a lower interest rate than what we'd be able to get right now.
Very good point. Thank you. Thank you.
And I do want to say, as far as to just kind of quantitate it, if we did it at 12 years, you know, that's still, I gotta call it out, $24 million tax. So, I mean, that, at 30 years, it's 60 million. So I can absorb the 12, 30 is just a lot. I mean, that is a lot, and it's a lot to, when we're kind of trying new things, and I feel like the people that have reached out to me would be a lot more receptive to a 12-year versus a 30-year. And the thing that I'm trying to keep my mind straight on tonight is we can walk out of here with the prettiest thing that we can get, and we're all happy in this room. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't pass by the voters, we get nothing. And so I think we need to really think about it, because and if we do it on the cycle, it could be renewed. If we did good, it could be renewed.
Could I address?
Yes, please come to the microphone. We're running really close on our time. We're going to have to change our tape, and we're going to have to suspend for a few moments shortly. So if I cut you off, I'm not cutting you off. It's because we're going to have to suspend.
I'm Mike Banks, I'm the Denard Fire Chief and also the president of the Fire Chiefs Association. And my question is I understand you want to cut it back. Would 16 years not work? Because that gives us a more workable avenue, and 16 years would put you at the vote where you falls on a regular election time. And so my question is, would you entertain as a quorum a 16-year versus a 12?
Yeah, because I'm not sure what the bank will loan on. You know, he's talking about trucks and stuff like that, and I didn't get a chance to go see Darla, but, you know, I don't know if they'll loan on a 12-year.
15, you know, normally at 15, you can get a 15-year mortgage. When you're talking trucks, when you buy used trucks, we've purchased 3 of them. Used trucks here recently. We replaced a 1966 LaFrance, a 73 Ford, and a 78 Ford. We didn't get new vehicles. We got a 91, a 92, and a 94. But it got our rating down to a 6 from a 9. So it got our ISO rating down. If you go to purchase a truck and you look at any of the websites that are selling trucks, your trucks are, you know, newer trucks are $100,000. That's for a used truck. And so if you go 16 years, it would give us a better avenue to work. Just to clean turnouts, a wash machine and a dryer, they're $13,000 to $15,000 a piece in order to wash our equipment. And if you've seen in the news here recently, I think it was Hot Springs has a problem with 5 of their firefighters that have cancer because a turnout portion. Well, right now we can't afford to buy a wash machine or a dryer for that. And in our department, we've got a split section of SCBA's. We got two different types. It would be nice to have money to go to one type unit. And so I'm asking you to consider not 12 years, but 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are needing to change the audio tape, but we are being video recorded and we have a consistent feed and it's being recorded on multiple devices. So we can continue. We will just have a small gap in our audio only recording. So at this time, our audio recording will cease. It will pick back up in progress, and we will continue to audio record this meeting in progress. So is there anyone else who wishes to approach the court about the 30-year term?
I just got a question, so everybody kind of understands a little bit more on what he was talking about, the washing machines. To some people, that's nothing, okay? But firefighters are taught, don't take these clothes home and wash them in your washing machine where you wash your baby's clothes and stuff, because there is a lot of carcinogens in there and creates cancer and everything else. So what do we do with them? We take them up here to the local laundromat and wash them, okay? It is what it is. We're not going to take them home for our children and everybody else to get cancer, for what we're doing. That's the understanding on because there's a lot of stuff that's in these houses that burn that are not real good for you. So just put that out there. Let everybody understand that a little bit, that's, and they have to be cleaned.
I just ask, from a voter's perspective, is there anyone that would like to just give an opinion on the difference in 12 and 16? I mean, does anyone have something they would like to say on how big of a difference they think in the end that would make?
I think 16 makes sense. I think 16 makes sense. It just does. It's half of about what you were asking.
Would you care to come to the microphone?
No, that's all I have
Brian? Have you checked in on that financing? Could you do 16 years
No,
without
I
working
was
first?
supposed to meet with Darla today, but we ran out of time. We had a lot of phone calls today, so we ran out of time. I don't know. I don't know if there's a banker here that can
Cheryl's back there. Cheryl, could you
answer
address that at all?
I have no idea.
We do need to come to the microphone.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you. From a banker's perspective, we always try to help the public in their financing. We can make exceptions on terms, but it just depends, It depends on the loan to value, the collateral. There's a lot of factors that come into play. But usually 15 years is a general term, 10 to 15 years on financing.
I mean, that's.
Okay?
Covers both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Covers both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
JPs, the floor is yours. Discuss among your, open discussion among the JPs.
Personally, I mean, I'm okay with 16 years if that's what it's gonna take. I don't know that 4 years would sink it, for additional years, but I do know that several have called me just to say that they will not vote for a 30. So I feel like that's meeting kind of in the middle. Whatever.
I think 16 is a safer way to go, because normal banks, the ones I've worked with, 15-year loan is what they look at in a lot of cases.
I chose 12 just because it's the smaller amount. I mean, I'm willing to go with 16. We can amend it to 16. That's fine with me, but I didn't know that's where the fire departments, that make the balance there for them. I mean, we're give and take here. That's why I chose 12, but I'm willing to work with 16.
Okay. So at this point, you made the motion to amend. So is the motion to amend now to 16 years? Okay, first of all, okay.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Now, here's what we have to do. Here's what we have to do. We have a motion and a second on the floor to amend to 12 years.
Right.
We need to vote on that. If that fails, we can then entertain another motion to amend to 16 years.
I have a
So,
question before we
yes.
do that. How much of the money is going to have to be allocated to go towards that truck? Are you gonna be able to purchase other things, or is
I mean, it depends on the trucks. I mean, I know, like the ones that, I don't know exact figures, the ones that Fairfield Bay just bought, they were 250 to 300,000 apiece. That's with no equipment. And then you gotta add all your equipment on.
I'm just saying it.
So I have no idea.
I realize
Every fire
that
department's a little different, so what their needs are.
the trucks that we have aren't the ones that are desirable, but, if you don't have healthy people in good turnouts, then there's
That's
no
right.
need for a
Well,
truck.
and there's many issues here, and I think, like you're saying, we gotta look at this. It's just like most fire departments, if they buy a new truck, they're gonna have to build a building, because it ain't gonna fit in the truck. It ain't gonna fit. Because most of these fire departments, like mine was built back in the 70s, was back when we was using, 1967 Ford pickups. So when you get a big old pumper truck, it won't fit. I mean, we just had to cut some walls out just to get the one we got in there. So, I mean, you've got to look at all that too, so, and that'll be up to the fire departments to figure some of that out, I mean.
I think the 16 years gives them the better leverage for what they need.
I have one quick question for Gordon, if I can ask. The 16 years, and that was just brought up, and so it's related to the 16 years. Does the 16 years affect anything that we need to think about as far as these bonds or anything? 16 years, are we good? The way that this is written, the library pays off in a year.
Right,
So-
so it wouldn't impact that.
And any other thing that we're not thinking of as far as the bonds if we do 16?
If you're really talking about 16, I was just kind of calculating that. That probably means just changing that 51 to 36. And that's really probably 16 plus something. You can only start and stop a sales tax at a quarter of the year, 3-month period. So if you pass this in March, it may not get started till maybe the end of the third quarter. It just depends on how quickly you can get things to the state. So that would be, at that point, 16 years and 3 months.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, and another thing to consider is that if the first year of the tax is going to be allocated to pay off the library, correct? Then that's gonna give the fire departments 15 years, exactly.
Any other discussion on term? Okay, we have a motion on the floor that is second to amend this to 12 years. That was the motion on the floor. Roll call vote for the amendment.
Holt,
No.
Nikki,
No.
Sarah,
No.
Phillips,
No.
Lynn,
No.
Bradford,
No.
Tatum,
No.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
No.
Okay. The motion to amend to 12 years fails. Mr. Lemings, would you like to make a new amendment?
Yes, sir, I would. I move that we amend this to say 16 years instead of 30 years. Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and second to amend this ordinance to take the term from 30 years to 16 years. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Hold on.
Oh,
I think you might want to amend to the specific date, since we're going to have to mark it.
Okay.
And,
All right.
December 31, 2036.
Okay. Yes, sir. December 31, 2036.
and that is going to be on which pages, Gordon? Let's go through this together and make sure we all do the same thing.
Page 2 and the next to the last paragraph.
Page 3 of the column.
Let's see, that's page 4, at the end of the material of the paragraph, and then very end of the next paragraph, see there. And then,
Page 3, sir. Page 3.
Is it on page 3?
No, sorry. He's on the wrong document.
And then on page 7, at the end of the question 4, and at the end of question 5. And that's all I have.
You'll start here.
5.
Okay, so it's been motion and second to amend this to a 16-year term scheduled to cease December 31st, 2036. Any further discussion on this amendment? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Okay. What we'll do, if it's okay with you, Gordon, we have this in a Word doc in my office, and we can just run in. We'll take a break before we end tonight, and we'll go in there and we'll make all these changes and make copies for everyone to proof before we do the final. Okay. All right, now that brings us back to general discussion on the ordinance itself. Justices, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just gonna clear up something real quick, because I know I see some confused faces, so I just wanna make sure. Gordon, I'm gonna have you stand up and down all night, I guess. But just to, as read in this ordinance, the library is included, and it can be paid off in a year with the funds from the sales tax, correct?
If that question passes, that is correct.
Okay. And to get to the last question, so the questions about what's going to the county, the question about the layout for fire and rescue. So I guess what I'm talking about is 4 and 5 and 6. Do 1 and 2 have to pass, or 1, 2, and 3 have to pass?
Well, unless 1 and 2, unless 1 and 2 pass, the existing tax stays in place. It won't be for very long, but it will stay in place for some period of time till it pays off those medical center bonds that are outstanding. So those two are tied together for that quarter cent. That's how that works. Then these other questions, the other taxes are individual. They could, one could pass, both could pass. If the other two taxes both pass and the library bond question passes, those two taxes would be pledged to secure those library bonds until they were paid off. And you said a year, it may be a little bit longer. If one of them didn't pass, it would be longer. You know, it would take longer to collect the money to get them paid off.
And question 4 references the library project bonds, which are discussed in 6, but it also allows for the payment of library services, operations, and library maintenance and operations.
That would be one of the approved uses here. That would, you know, the quorum court, it would be up to the court every year. It would have to fit within this
Gotcha.
question, but any of those things would be permissible expenditures of that quarter cent.
Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Not of you, thank you. So the library is on it for the next 16 years.
Till it's paid.
Till it's paid.
And he's saying that we can do that as
Till it's paid.
allowed in here, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, that's my, is it?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
All righty. At this time, we will let anyone approach the court who would like to. I would. Okay. All I ask is that you limit your comments to 2 minutes, that you come to the microphone, and that we try not to do too much repeating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if this does not pass the tax, the library will close, is that correct?
We will explore every option possible.
Okay,
But if we have to make a $330,000 bond payment,
okay,
we're not going to have enough left to operate the facility for the remainder of the year.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I expected everyone to line right up. Come right on up.
I'm Melody Valentine, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the court. My concern is, and this is a question, is the ordinance, as Mr. Holt read it, is that going to be on the ballot in its entirety?
The ballot is located within the ordinance.
Yeah.
And I have an extra copy here if you'd like to see it.
Okay.
And it is a wordy ballot, but it is a legal ballot. It's going to get the job.
But I think the question she's asking is that entire ordinance going to be on the ballot?
The entire ordinance will be.
No.
Only those questions will be on the ballot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because my concern is,
Silence your time.
Silence your time.
my concern is, I don't know what the percentage of senior citizens in the county is, but I'm sure there's quite a few. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, you almost lost me after the first paragraph.
Sounds like a love story.
But my concern is the senior citizens, reading through all of this, the time it's going to take and the understanding of it. You know, that's my biggest concern on the ordinance itself being on the ballot.
I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
that's where you're going to have to help us, because we're going to have to get out and talk to people and explain it to them, so that when they come up, they will know what they're looking at.
I would use this ordinance as a tool, but I would not regurgitate this ordinance. I've read it twice now, and I still don't. But it has pieces in it that people can understand, and you can explain it to them per by the questions.
Just the question.
Just the questions.
Okay. And I do know that the newspapers do print a copy of what is going to be on the ballot prior to the date of voting, and that's helpful also.
By the way, I want to thank you for your letter.
Thank you for replying. I appreciated that. I didn't really plan to get up and speak, so, but anyway, those are my two concerns. But thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
we need to get it down to a couple of letters, condensed to a couple of words.
Yeah.
This is this.
Next.
This is that.
I would like to speak briefly. This is not so much just about the budget, most specifically about the library. And I've been bothered by, seems like a lot of pressure on the library to do something. And this thing about the building of the library is not a library problem. There was a millage 70 years ago put in place for a library. And the people at the library have done a fantastic job at cutting their cost. One of the marching orders that they were given by you. And they've done a great job of it. Matter of fact, that $1 million that we all pay every year and have paid for 70 years is more than enough to pay their budget. Matter of fact, they could reopen and be open on Fridays and still be under budget. That's the money allocated for the library. I challenge you, as the JPs, you know, you have a fiduciary responsibility for this county. I know you're not getting paid for it, but it's still an important job, maybe a thankless job, but it's a very important thing to keep things in check. And I think with just casual observation, you can look at the county annex and see that we have an assessor's office, tax collector's office, clerk's office, and you know, they're overpopulated. We should think about maybe cutting back a little bit in some other areas as well. And I think that county government would run just as smooth as ever. personally, I think if the county annex was closed down one day a week, no one would really notice. The library in July had 6,100 pieces of business that they did. And that's a lot of transactions. And that does not include what happened at the, I guess there was maybe 80 things that went on in the community center there. That does not include the online work where people get books and whatnot online. So they did a heck of a lot with 3 people, and they weren't even working on Fridays. So I think we should take a serious look at some of the other county positions and consider letting some people go maybe, or certainly when we have a situation where someone's quitting, retiring, maybe not replacing that person and trying to reduce the cost of county government, because our revenues have declined, and that's just a tough fact of life that we need to address.
I have a suggestion. The next time we have budget meetings, please come.
You know, I work on Thursday nights, but I'd be more than happy to give you suggestions.
You'll see how hard it is to do what we
Yeah.
do. I want to say one thing to the people of our county, that you may not realize this. 60% of this tax is not paid by you. It's paid by people coming into the county. So make sure you understand that when you explain it to people.
Exactly.
60% is paid by somebody rolling through Van Buren County.
Are there anyone else from the floor? Oh.
We're still on library. We're still on library.
Hey guys, I'm Debbie Prout. I work at the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office. I am a big proponent of the bill, the ordinance. I do have a couple of questions though. I used to be on the volunteer fire department. I would like to challenge the fire departments to tell us how many calls actually go to a fire and how many actually go to a medical call. Because when I was on the fire department, it was about 1 to 10. 10 being medical, 1 being fire. I would like to see more landing zones put in. I'd like to see more ambulances put out in the community, okay? Because I see medical as probably a bigger issue than the fire. The other thing is I understand they want a bigger truck. I get it. I understand why. A bigger building so they can house it. I want a bigger jail so we can house our inmates that are running around here in Van Buren County. I want a bigger jail. And I'm not afraid to say that. Right now, I see that crime is outpacing law enforcement. We need help. Let's take care of the county also, not just the volunteers. I love volunteers. I'm a volunteer. But I think we need to disperse the money evenly.
Thank you.
That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other statement? You're coming. Oh, well, you're okay. We'll amend for you.
My name is Linda Dingley. I'm his other half. We've been in the county 27 years, taxpayers, by the way. But I'm the sewing instructor for the library. I have graduated 2 children's classes and 1 adult class. This is needed so badly in this county. And I have talked to the library officials, and we've got all kinds of plans, hopefully to involve teenagers, which we need really bad in this county. And we need the library open, and we need volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion about the library or any of this tax?
I'm still on the fence with the library and stuff, but most of you know that I'm on the jail planning committee, and the issues with the jail is right now, when you have 80 inmates and only a 58-bed facility, which is going to be, in the long run, you're going to face litigation, which the county cannot afford. So when you make these decisions, also keep that in the back of your head. Litigation is just around the corner for a jail that's overpopulated, understaffed, and not classified like the law says. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other floor discussion?
I just want to say thank y'all. I know it's a lot of work. I try not to be on the fence about anything. I'm very passionate about our library. I'm very passionate about this tax. You know, when it all came up, I'm trying to think, man, if this 1 cent goes away, what am I going to do? You know, after I've been down to the Huddle House and I saved 10 cents because my tax went away, you know, is it going to accumulate? Or if I go to Cash Savers, my $75 and I get to pocket an additional 75 cents. I'll probably never see anything from that. But if we're all pitching in, you know, we can see our hospital, we can see our library. Our ISO drops, we're saved, you know, money. I think even though we're spending money through insurance costs, different savings, we're saving $700,000 on refinancing. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I thank y'all for your hard work. It's confusing because I thought the library was totally taken out again, and I had a whole different speech for that. I thank y'all for your hard work. I want everybody to support it. The crowd here, it's great to see this many people that are involved.
Yes.
I'd like to, a lot of our library employees, our library board, former board members are here, friends of the library. I don't know if we have all 7,000 card holders here, but there's a lot of support for our library, and we appreciate each and every one of y'all.
Okay, we've been going an hour and a half. We're going to take a 10-minute suspension, and we'll meet back at that time. Stop. We were entertaining discussion from the floor, and we have a group of students here from the local school, and I believe one of them is wanting to come and voice an opinion. And I think it's great when we get people this young engaged in the process.
All right. So, yeah, I'm Ian Thompson, an 11th grader at Clinton High School. I'm involved in student council, stuff like that. And I want to voice my opinion on how great I think this tax is. Now, as one of the people who will be paying this later on in our lives, because I plan to come back here, hopefully, if life doesn't get in the way of that, I would rather pay a little bit more on my food, on my gas, than not have a library and have underfunded fire departments and rescue squads. I would rather be sure that I live in a secure county where I know that I will be safe if anything goes wrong, instead of saving a few cents on my food. Having all of those security guarantees is more important than a little bit of extra money in my bank account. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
You know, it's hard for anyone to come stand before a crowd like this and express their opinion. To have someone in high school willing to do that speaks volumes, and it makes me proud of the generation that's coming behind. Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Myers. I'm with the Chimes Fire Department. I'm chief at Chimes. Been chief for most of the existence of that fire department. Chimes does have an ambulance. We are one of the larger areas that cover, but we have one of the smaller populations. We are so rural, it's tough. Ambulance is a big part of our budget. Our calls run probably 25 to 1, not 10 to 1. Medical is a big deal. But it costs a lot of money to run an ambulance. And volunteers, we need that younger generation. We need volunteers. The average rural firefighter is 65 years old, nationwide. It's hurting. We need help. Finances would help. If we could pay for training, if we could give some kind of impetus so these people could stop their lives and actually participate in the fire departments, if we could pay them to participate, it would be a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of go with what he says. And, you know, this may fit, it may not for some people, but it's called if the shoe fits. Shame on all the armchair quarterbacks or so-called backseat drivers. Shame on the social media sites and the naysayers that want to put stuff out for people without having all the correct answers. Most just want to keep things stirred up. Shame on the Quorum Court members for not being more involved in your community fire departments. through this process this last couple of weeks, I've got tons of phone calls. You need to know a whole lot more about your fire departments. Thinking you know what is best for the fire department, how to operate it. Most don't even know where the fire department is, or even know who the fire chief is. And I am going to say that not many have ever stepped a foot into your fire department. Not to really see what is going on and meet the men and women that try to protect you and your family on an everyday affair. You may learn a thing or two. All the fire department gets is, what took you so long? It took you 9 minutes to get here. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I had to leave my granddaughter's graduation to go get a truck to respond to the fire that you set in the yard with the wind blowing and let it get out of control with a burn ban on. All right? All when you're only a mile from the fire department and sat there and did nothing. The firefighters have volunteered for so long, for nothing, with nothing, that the mere public thinks they're entitled to this service. Well, guess what? You ain't. Just a reminder, we are all volunteers. We don't get a dime to respond. For those that say there aren't nothing but a bunch of dope heads, well, guess what? They are willing to get up at 2 a.m. when the pager goes off to respond to your fire, to help drag hose or set up a water supply, to help put out the fire. Did I say it was 2 a.m.? Oh, goodness. Don't let me leave it out. Now it's 5 a.m. and I have to be at work in 1 hour, where everyone else sleeps tidy in their beds. Why do we do this job? And I've said this many times. I follow a simple set of rules. If my house is on fire or my family is in a wreck and they need help, I expect every Tom, Dick, and Harry to drop everything they're doing and come and help. In retrospect, I'm going to do the same, and so will my family. Yes, we are volunteers. Yes, it takes families nowadays to work 2, 3 jobs to make ends meet. But yes, we still volunteer. Yes, we need your help, not your negativity. You are never too old or too young to start getting involved. There's always something for you to do. Call your local fire departments and stop being a backseat driver and get involved.
Justices, anything about the tax at all in any portion of it? We haven't heard from the hospital yet.
I'm David Deaton. I'm the administrator of Ozark Health Medical Center. Just some facts to remind people of. We're the largest employer in Van Buren County. Last year, our total wages, salaries, and benefits were more than $16 million. We served more than 7,000 people in the emergency department last year. We save lives every year by responding to and being available for stroke victims. If we can shave 30 minutes off of their travel to another hospital, we save lives that way, and it happens regularly. Many times in cooperation with the local volunteer fire departments and first responders. We have more than 80 people that live in the nursing home regularly. Last year, before we had our flood and had to reduce our capacity for a period of time, we had more than 90 that lived there. And so the census is coming back up. We'll soon be at 90 or more. So it's a home for people. It's an employer. It's a lifesaver. We have equipment and services here that were never going to be possible prior to the hospital that was built in 2005, or I'm sorry, 2004, that's still here and doing well today. We have an MRI in our hospital that people used to have to travel to Conway or Little Rock to get that quality. When that equipment needs to be replaced in a few years, I don't know what the price will be, but the one that's in there now in service for 6 years was $1.25 million. And so when that needs to be replaced, we would be looking at replacing that. And so the 0.25% that would be designated to continue to support the hospital and continue our development. will be used to fund things of that nature. And so I just, I know there's a lot of talk about what it means to the library and the fire departments, and I'm all for that. But we haven't spoken much about the hospital. And so the community, back in 2002, I believe, made a commitment to health care in Van Buren County, and it's paid off. And so if the people of the community are gracious enough to continue to support the hospital, we will continue to grow. But more than 340 full and part-time employees, salaries, wages, and benefits of more than $16 million a year, lives saved, nursing home care, and a lot of other things that I don't have time to mention in the 2 minutes that you gave me that I probably went over. But I want to thank the Quorum Court for all their consideration and hard work. I know it's been tough, and it's great to come here and hear what the community has to say. As for me and my staff that I've spoken with recently, they're in full support of this. Our hospital board is in support of it. We're grateful for what the county has done for us in the past, so we look forward to hopefully seeing this continue for another 16 years, it sounds like. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I would like to publicly state, we all hear the negative comments that our hospital is nothing but a Band-Aid station, or it's a joke, or whatever. Lives really are saved at this hospital. And it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in Clinton, you want to be in Conway. If you're in Conway, you want to be in Little Rock. If you're in Little Rock, you want to be at MD Anderson, or you want to be at Mayo Clinic. You always want to be someplace better, because when we're the ones sick or our loved ones are sick, we want to be in the absolute best place. But when my dad was on his deathbed, and when I had an infection and had to spend time in our local hospital, I really was, and so was my dad, in the absolute best place for him. So.